My dad tried to force me to hand over my house to my spoiled sister for her business retreat. So I made one move that left them reeling and exposed for exactly what they are. Buying that house was the proudest moment of my life. My name's Jacob. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Akron, Ohio. I've been a mechanic since I was 21, busted knuckles, double shifts, greasy uniforms, and not a lot of sleep. I've never had a big paycheck or a vacation longer than 2 days. But last month, after 10 years of grinding, I bought my first home. A little two-bedroom fixer-upper on the west side. Brick siding, beat-up porch, and a tiny backyard that's more weeds than grass. But it was mine. Every nail, every floorboard, every penny I put into it came from me. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was ahead. Just a little. I spent that first weekend on a folding chair in the living room, eating cold pizza and staring at the bare walls like I couldn't believe they belonged to me. I kept thinking about all the nights I worked late at the shop, skipped meals, skipped birthdays, saved every dollar. It finally paid off. I could hear my younger self laughing in disbelief. Then, of course, Lila called. Lila is my older sister by 2 years. She lives in Phoenix now, though she's barely lived in reality for the last decade. She calls herself a wellness content creator, but all she really does is post staged pictures of her 3 kids in color-coordinated outfits, sitting in front of fruit platters. Her whole life is some curated fantasy where she's a single mother healing her inner goddess, while our father, Mark, funds the whole charade. Lila's had more business ventures than I can count. A crystal shop, a mobile yoga van, a subscription box of essential oils, you name it. They all crash within 6 months. And every time, Mark swoops in with another check and another excuse. Meanwhile, when I needed a couple $100 for community college, he said I should get used to earning my way. He's always treated Lila like a sacred cow and me like the family mule. Maybe because she reminds him of our mother, or maybe because she's always known how to cry pretty. The day I got the keys to the house, I texted a picture to our family group chat. No response from Mark, just a clapping emoji from Lila, and a wow, good for you. That somehow managed to sound like a pat on the head. But I didn't need their approval. I had walls to paint, floors to sand, and a busted water heater to replace. Then one night, sitting on my new porch with a beer in hand, I looked at the sky and thought, this is it. No one gave me this. No handouts, no loans. Just years of sweat and scraped knuckles. This house is a reflection of that. My life in wood and drywall. But that feeling, the quiet kind of peace you don't get often, wouldn't last. Because when it comes to my family, nothing stays untouched for long. And I should have known. The minute I built something good, they'd find a way to move in and tear it apart. I got home late that night, covered in oil and sweat after a 14-hour shift. The smell of burnt rubber still clung to my skin. All I wanted was a hot shower and a cold beer. Instead, I pulled into my driveway and saw my father and Lila sitting on my front porch like they owned the place. Mark had his hands clasped over his stomach like he was waiting to deliver a lecture. Lila was perched on the railing in some flowing white outfit, one of those gauzy things she wears when she wants to look ethereal on camera. Her phone was out, probably already filming the encounter for her channel. I got out of the truck and just stood there. You lose your keys or something? I asked, keeping my voice even. Mark smiled, that slow, patronizing smile I'd seen too many times. We wanted to surprise you, son. You've really done well for yourself here. Yeah, I said, stepping around them. And I'd like to keep it that way. But they didn't move. Lila gave me this look, all fake concern and soft eyebrows. Jakey, don't be so defensive. We came to talk. As a family. That set off alarms in my head. Anytime Lila said, as a family, it meant something terrible was about to happen. Mark cleared his throat. This house, it's a bit much for one person, don't you think? I froze, keys in hand. Excuse me. It's just, Lila jumped in, her voice lilting like she was delivering a TED Talk on empathy. You have all this space, and I'm struggling so hard with the kids. 3 growing children in that cramped little townhouse. It's not fair to them. Mark nodded. We were thinking maybe it's time you do something generous. Something that reflects your character. I stared at both of them, feeling my blood start to boil. You want me to give you my house. Donate. Lila corrected quickly. You'd still live here, of course. Maybe in the back room. But this place, it has so much potential. I could make it into a beautiful healing sanctuary. My followers would love it. She turned her phone toward me, already live. Say hi, Jakey, she chirped. This is the brother I was telling you all about, the hard-working soul with a heart of gold. I stepped back. Are you seriously recording this? Lila beamed. Transparency is important. People need to see how families support each other. Mark stepped forward then, lowering his voice. You know, son, when I'm gone, the inheritance could be very complicated. But a decision like this? It would show you understand your family duty. I clenched my jaw. Get off my porch, I said. Lila blinked, confused. Jakey, now. She looked at Mark, then back at me. Mark sighed. You're being emotional. No, I said. I'm being clear. They didn't leave right away. Lila tried to make it into a healing moment, narrating the whole thing into her phone. Mark muttered something about disappointment, but I just stood there, arms crossed, waiting until they finally got back in his car and drove off. That night, I sat in my living room and stared at the walls I had sanded with my own hands. So this is what family means to them. They saw my house, and all they saw was something to take. I don't yell, never have. Even as a kid, I learned early that shouting didn't get you heard. It just gave people something to dismiss. So instead of yelling, I gather proof, records, receipts. Paper has never lied to me the way people do. After that night on the porch, I spent a weekend going through a decade's worth of emails, bank transfers, text messages, even old Facebook posts. I printed everything and put it in a manila folder. Lila and Mark wanted to pretend this was about what's best for the family. Fine. I'd show them what family looked like on paper. I called Mark and told him to meet me at the house the following Tuesday. I didn't tell him what for. He brought Lila, of course. She showed up in another white wrap dress and a straw hat like she was on her way to a beach photo shoot, not a confrontation. They walked in like it was already theirs. So, Mark said, sitting down in my dining room chair like he paid rent, have you come to your senses? I dropped the folder onto the table with a quiet thump. What's that? Lila asked, frowning. Documentation, I said, of every penny you've burned. Mark opened it and flipped through the first few pages. Property records. The deed to my house, clearly in my name. Then a set of screenshots showing Lila's old Instagram posts about the last house Dad gave her, the one she called her Zen temple, before she let it go into foreclosure. I remember this place, I said, tapping the photo of her smiling in front of the front porch, barefoot. You got the keys from Dad. Said it was going to be your healing retreat. Then 6 months later you left the bathtub running and walked away from the mortgage. That was a difficult time, Lila said quickly. I was in a deep spiritual unraveling. Mark cleared his throat. Son, there's no need to drag up the past. We're talking about now. No, I cut in. We're talking about patterns. I flipped to the next section. A bank transfer from Mark's account to Lila's. 10 grand, marked business startup. A month later, another one, and another. Then my favorite, a GoFundMe Lila started under the title, A Second Chance for a Single Mom Entrepreneur. Raised $4,200. Closed within 2 weeks. Never fulfilled the promised yoga tutorials or vegan recipes. The comments were brutal. Lila's smile cracked for the first time. You're taking this out of context. I'm putting it in context, I said calmly. Every time you got something, you squandered it. And Dad, I looked at Mark now. You covered for her. While I worked weekends to pay for rusted brakes and stripped lug nuts, Mark sat back, jaw tight. That's your choice. Exactly. This house? That was my choice. You don't get to touch it just because you're out of favors. Lila tried to laugh. You're being so negative. You're blocking your abundance, Jacob. When you hold on to anger like this, it poisons the whole energy of the home. I leaned forward, my voice even. You poisoned your own energy. This house? It's clean. She blinked, confused. Mark looked furious. You think you're better than your sister? No, I said. I think I'm just done pretending we're the same. For a moment, nobody spoke. Just the soft creak of my ceiling fan overhead. The manila folder lay open on the table, pages scattered like evidence at a crime scene. Finally, Mark stood up. You'll regret this. No, I said, gathering the papers. I regret letting it go this far. They left in silence. No dramatic exit. Just footsteps and a door shutting behind them. I watched from the window as they drove off. Lila already typing into her phone, probably spinning the story into some nonsense about toxic boundaries and energetic theft. But I didn't care. They'd finally seen it, in black and white. I wasn't just the quiet son anymore. I was the guy with the receipts. A week passed. Quietly, I went back to my routine. Early mornings at the shop, late nights working on that rusted-out motorcycle in my garage. I thought maybe, just maybe, they'd taken the hint. Maybe the paperwork, the facts, the calm confrontation had sunk in. But I should have known better. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had grease on my forearms and a carburetor spread out like a puzzle across my workbench when my phone started buzzing nonstop. For missed calls in under 5 minutes, all from neighbors. I wiped my hands, heart already pounding, and answered the next one. Jacob, are you home? It was Mrs. Bennett from next door, her voice high and panicked. There's a locksmith at your front door, and your father's out there. And that woman, your sister, is filming everything. I didn't even hang up. I just bolted. I drove faster than I should have through the neighborhood, tires screeching into my driveway. And there it was, a moving truck idling at the curb. Mark standing in my front yard like he was supervising a construction site. Lila waving her phone around, doing a slow pan across the house like it was a real estate tour. Her kids were running wild in the front yard, shrieking and chasing each other with juice boxes in hand. And in front of my door, a locksmith crouched, drill in hand, halfway through removing my deadbolt. I jumped out of my truck. What the hell is going on? The locksmith paused, glancing nervously between me and Mark. Lila didn't even look up. "Oh good, you're here," she said brightly, as if I was just fashionably late to a birthday party. "We're getting everything ready." I told my followers this would be a raw, vulnerable moving day. I stared at her. "You're filming." She turned the camera on me, smiling. "Meet my baby brother, the one who made this sanctuary possible." I smacked the phone gently aside. "Turn that off." Mark stepped in, his voice all smooth authority. "We're just helping Lila get settled. You had your say, but the truth is, this house is family property. I brought some paperwork." He pulled a folder from under his arm, waving it like it meant something. I held up a hand. "Save it. You want to play legal games? Let's play." I turned to the locksmith. "You got ID?" He hesitated, confused. Yeah. "Then you're going to want to take a look at this," I said, pulling my deed from the glove box and holding it up. "Official property title. Sole owner, Jacob Morris." "That's me." "If you drill that lock, you're committing a felony." The guy blinked fast. "I wasn't told. They said this was a family thing." "It's not," I said flatly. He stood up slowly, pulling his tools away. "I'm out." Mark started yelling something about rights and intentions, but I wasn't listening. I walked up to the moving truck and parked my body in front of it. Lila followed me, still filming. "This isn't a good look, Jakey," she said. "Howdy. People are watching. You're evicting a single mom. Think of the optics." I looked her dead in the eye. "You're trespassing. And if you don't leave in 10 minutes, I'm calling the cops." She huffed, finally turning off her phone. 15 minutes later, the locksmith was gone. The movers were back in their truck, and Mark and Lila stood at the curb, seething, clutching their bogus folder like it was worth more than the truth. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I just held up the key to my house, and locked the door behind me. Let them film that. They didn't leave. 10 minutes after I locked the door, I peeked through the curtains. Mark and Lila were still on the sidewalk, huddled together, whispering. The kids were now sitting in the grass, bored, picking at the mulch near my mailbox. The moving truck hadn't budged. I had a sick feeling in my gut, but I waited. I gave them a chance to walk away. They didn't take it. So I called the cops. It felt ridiculous, calling the police on my own family. But standing there in my own living room, holding the title deed like a lifeline, I realized something. If I didn't stop them now, they'd never stop. This wasn't going to go away on its own. The dispatcher was calm and professional. I told her there were trespassers refusing to leave my private property. She asked if they were related to me. I said yes. She said officers would be there within 10 minutes. They arrived in 6. 2 patrol cars pulled up, lights off. Officers stepped out. One older guy with a calm face, and a younger one who already had his hand on his belt like he was expecting trouble. I stepped outside, deed in hand. "That's him," Lila said before I could even open my mouth. She was already filming again. "This is the homeowner, and he's throwing out a single mother and her children in broad daylight. We're documenting everything for accountability." "Ma'am," the older officer said, "we're going to need everyone to lower their phones and remain calm while we sort this out." Mark stepped forward, holding out the same worn folder he'd tried to use on the locksmith. "This property belongs to our family," he said. "We have documentation." The officer took the papers, flipped through them quickly, and handed them back. "These aren't legal documents. There's no title, no proof of ownership, and no authority granted to either of you." Mark's face twitched. "I'm his father. Doesn't change the law, sir." I handed over my paperwork. "Deed, taxes, utility bills in my name. Everything's current." The younger cop took it, nodded, and handed it to his partner. Lila's voice rose. "This is an injustice. He's denying children a home. My followers will hear about this. We are being oppressed." The older officer looked unfazed. "Ma'am, do you currently live here?" "No, but do you have a lease, rent agreement, or any proof of residency?" She faltered. This was supposed to be a surprise gift. "He promised us this house." "I didn't," I said plainly. The younger cop turned to one of the kids, the middle one, maybe 6 years old. "Hey, buddy, can I ask you something?" The boy nodded. "Did your mom tell you were moving in today?" He looked up at Lila. She nodded encouragingly. He paused, then said, "We were gonna live here now. Mommy said Uncle Jacob has too much house for just himself. But she said we can't tell Grandpa she lied about the last house or he'll stop paying. The silence that followed was like a vacuum. Mark turned slowly to face Lila. What did he just say? Lila's eyes went wide. He's a child. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The older officer cleared his throat. Ma'am, sir, you are both being asked to leave the premises immediately. If you refuse, you may be charged with trespassing. Lila's phone dropped a little. This is going to go viral, she mumbled. Good, I said. Let everyone see exactly who you are. The officers stayed until the moving truck pulled away, and Mark and Lila were forced into their car, furious and humiliated. The younger cop handed me back my deed. You did everything right. Don't let them bully you. I nodded. I won't. I locked the door behind me again. This time, I knew it was over. At least, the legal part was. The public part? That was just beginning. It started with a neighbor's phone. Ms. Ortega, the woman who lived 2 houses down, had been watering her petunias when everything went down. She recorded the whole thing. Lila shouting into her phone, Mark waving fake documents, the cops calmly dismantling their nonsense, and most of all, that moment when one of Lila's kids accidentally blurted out that she had lied to Grandpa and wrecked a previous house. She posted the video on Facebook that evening with the caption, "Influencer tries to steal brother's house, cops arrive. Watch till the end, eyes." By morning, it had 200,000 views. By lunch, it had cracked 1 million. The comments were brutal. How entitled do you have to be to just show up and try to take someone's house? Poor guy worked for everything, and they're out here playing squatters. Is this the same Lila who sells detox smoothies and healing candles? Unfollowed. I didn't say a word. I didn't post. I didn't even click like. I just sat on my front porch with a cup of coffee and watched the neighborhood pass by like nothing had changed, except everything had. Lila's carefully curated online life unraveled fast. Her last Instagram post, a video of her blowing kisses to the camera while calling herself a blessed mama bear, was suddenly flooded with thousands of comments. Did you bless yourself into fraud? Mama bear? More like gold digger. Within 2 days, 3 of her brand sponsors quietly dropped her. One of them even emailed me, a rep from a vitamin company, to apologize, saying they had no idea the situation was as serious as portrayed. I didn't write back. Mark didn't show up at my door again, but he tried calling. I ignored every ring. I knew he was scrambling behind the scenes, trying to fix the optics, to spin the story, to make sure it didn't touch his reputation. Too late. Another neighbor posted a second video, one from a different angle, and that one caught Mark muttering under his breath, "This house should have been ours the minute he bought it." That video went viral too. Suddenly, it wasn't just Lila who looked bad. Comments started popping up on his old Facebook posts. Still playing favorites? What kind of father enables this? Must be hard watching your golden child implode. I didn't feel joy. Not exactly. But I felt something like relief. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to prove myself. I didn't have to explain why I deserved what I earned, or beg for respect from people who never planned to give it. Now the truth was out there, and the internet wasn't kind to liars. Lila deleted her channel a week later, claimed she was taking a mental health break from the toxicity of online culture. Mark retreated into silence. No calls, no more porch visits. And me? I got back to work, painted the hallway, replaced the water heater, finally fixed the cracked step on the porch. It was my house again, mine and mine alone. And the best part? Nobody was filming. They thought the internet backlash was the end of it, just some angry commenters and a few lost sponsorships. But the thing about exposure is that once the truth is out, it doesn't stop spreading. It trickles into places people thought were safe. It started with Mark. Turns out, some of his family trust money wasn't his to spend. He'd been dipping into a dormant investment account set up by my grandfather, money that was meant to stay untouched until his grandchildren turned 25. I only found out because Grandpa's old financial advisor, who followed the drama online, decided to give me a call. You might want to have someone look into the transactions, he said. Some of the signatures look suspicious. Within a week, there was an investigation, then a suspension, then criminal charges, embezzlement, forgery, abuse of fiduciary responsibility. The man who once told me I wasn't the kind of son who'd leave a legacy now had his own name attached to fraud. Lila didn't fare any better. The wellness company she scammed started speaking out. Turns out she'd promised dozens of brand deals, collaborations, and deliverables that never materialized. One small company from Vermont even accused her of forging testimonials and using fake analytics to inflate her following. Then someone dug deeper. Apparently, she'd opened a second PayPal account using a slightly altered name, taking donations from followers under the guise of helping low-income single mothers with childcare. Money that, surprise, surprise, went straight into her yoga retreats and Instagrammable brunches. By the end of the month, she was arrested for wire fraud and theft by deception. It wasn't some big dramatic takedown, no cuffs on the sidewalk. She turned herself in quietly, trying to control the narrative, claimed it was all a misunderstanding, that she was overwhelmed, that her team had mismanaged things. Except there was no team, just her, a ring light, and a growing list of angry sponsors. Her kids, the ones she used to call her healing angels, were placed with their biological father, a quiet guy named Dennis who had never made a single appearance on her channel. He showed up in court with a steady job, a clean record, and a stable home in Tucson. The judge didn't hesitate. The kids left with him that afternoon. No camera, no goodbye post, just 3 confused children in car seats, finally heading somewhere normal. As for me, I stayed put. I finished the kitchen cabinets, framed a couple pictures for the hallway, built a small work table in the guest room, and turned it into a little study, a quiet spot where I could sketch motorcycle parts or just drink coffee and breathe. One morning, a letter came. No return address, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Lila. Inside, 2 pages of performative apologies and 1 thinly veiled bribe. I know I messed up, Jakey, she wrote, but I'm rebuilding. If you could help me relaunch, maybe promote my new channel or just share a post, I'll make it worth your while. Exposure could be good for your shop. I took out a red marker, wrote 1 word across the top in bold block letters. No. Mailed it back. No stamp. No note. Just a final answer. And this time, I didn't feel angry, or guilty, or sad. I felt free. They tried to take my house. But in the end, they lost everything. And I gained peace.